Hello, and welcome to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I'm your host, Chantal Cox. My purpose is to empower and lift up others who know in their heart they're meant for more. More joy, more impact, and more passion. If you're ready to make a radical transformation and create a life that you love, then you have come to the right place. Let's do this. Hello. Welcome everybody to today's episode of the Create a Life You Love video podcast, where we get to connect with amazing people from all over the world to share tips and strategies designed to help you on your journey. So for those of you who don't know me yet, I'm your host. I'm Chantal Cox. I'm an author, a speaker, a transformation neurocoach, and a certified life purpose coach. And I specialize in helping women connect with their unique purpose and permanently remove the blocks that have been holding them back so that they can step into their full potential and live an aligned and fulfilling life of impact. So if you are new to us, this is being streamed live. So please feel free to put any comments and questions in the chat, and we will get to them as it makes sense in the flow of our conversation. And if you are catching the replay, just interact as if you're with us live and use hashtag replay, and we will get back to you. I'm super excited to be here today with Shakia Meyer. Shakia is a licensed mental health clinician, a mindset manifestation expert, and the host of the Aligned and Free Show. And that is a spiritually infused personal development brand. Aligned is Free is focused on helping women align with what they really want and free themselves up from the BS that's holding them back. I love it. How are you today?
I am good. I'm good. So it's actually Mayor, which is a common occurrence.
Of course.
But I'm great. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. And that is one of my things that I always make sure to ask. And of course, I didn't today. So go figure, right?
No worries.
Good. Well, so tell us where you are joining us from.
From the great state of New Jersey.
Very nice. And I just absolutely love your background. It's so on brand and exactly with what we're going to dive into tonight. So that's super fun. And so before we go into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you've created a life that you love?
Okay, awesome. So I won't share the entire story because we would be here all night. But for me, so the first chapter of my professional life, as you said, I've been a licensed mental health counselor, right? And so that's what I've studied. I've been studying psychology at the collegiate level since I was a junior or senior in high school. So I knew this was it for me. That was my path. Even though I also wanted to go into broadcast journalism, and I thought about these different avenues, but psychology has always been this presence in my life, right? I love to study human behavior, all that jazz. So come senior year of my undergraduate experience, I was like, oh my God, am I gonna get a job? Because I double majored in psychology and communication studies. So I'm like, do I go out into the field? What do I do next? And I said, well, what seems to make the most sense, and I'm going somewhere with this, I promise you. What seems to make the most sense is to go into psychology and mental health counseling. And so that's what my specialty is, mental health counseling. And that's kind of how I've operated throughout my entire life. What seems to make the most sense is, and then fill in the blank. And then I would go and do whatever made the most sense, whatever worked well on paper. And so part of my journey to creating the life that I love is not always doing what makes sense on paper. And that was so freaking scary, right? So what would it look like if I took a step back from working as a clinician, which I did? What would it look like if I resigned from my job and my management position, which I did? What would it look like if I started to work on my novel and my personal development book, which I'm doing? So my point is, as for my journey, I've started to, and I've been asking myself, well, what would it look like if I did the opposite of what makes sense on paper? And because I've been doing that, so many things have changed and so many doors have started to open up because I'm not doing what makes the most sense to everybody else or what was a part of that original life plan. So for me, creating the life that I love, part of my journey is stepping outside the box and challenging myself. All right, Shakia, well, what would that be like if you didn't do that anymore? Oh my gosh, if I resign from my job, what the heck am I going to do? Like, that is a major step. And me being, and the women I work with who, I don't want to say suffer, but who are impacted by imposter syndrome, that is very difficult to do because especially with imposter syndrome, you don't want to be perceived as the failure. You don't want to make a mistake, especially in public. So, oh my goodness, how am I going to respond when people find out I resigned from my job? How am I going to respond if people find out that I'm writing again, which was a first love of mine, right? But anyway, I can go on and on and on. Part of that journey has been stepping outside the box and asking myself, well, what would it look like if I didn't do the ordinary? What would it look like if I didn't go, what would it look like if I went against the grain a little bit?
I love so much about that. And that is why, we've connected before. I've been on your podcast and we just kind of keep staying connected because we're so aligned. Because a big word that we use here in the Create a Life You Love community is unleashed. And it's just, looking at what society says all the shoulds are, and then defining for ourselves, okay, that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But is that what I want for me? And if not, just completely busting free of the confines of all that crap that holds us down and doing what we want. I should be married with 2.5 kids. I'm not, and I'm okay with that. Right?
Yes, yes. And that's that piece, right? Being okay with not aligning with the shoulds. And I teach clients this all the time. And we've definitely talked about this on my podcast, which is we don't have to live in a life of shoulds because usually the shoulds are based off of external expectations. So whether a client is coming to me for coaching or therapy in my private practice, that's what we're talking about. Not what somebody else expects of you, but what is it that you expect for yourself? What is it that you want for yourself? So yeah, I resonate with that 100%.
Absolutely. And it is so hard. I mean, it's an ongoing struggle for myself and so many of the clients that I work with. And so I'm really curious as to how you're helping your clients create a life that they love and, embrace this aligned and free life.
Yes. So, and you mentioned this in the introduction, and my tagline is you align with what you really want and you free yourself from all of the BS that's holding you back. And for me, and what I teach clients to identify the BS, what is the BS that's holding you back, is some of the what I call the stinking thinking, all of the thoughts that are just stopping you from being your best self, from living the life you've always imagined. And so the way that I teach amazing, ambitious, driven women to create the life they love is to kick imposter syndrome to the curb by creating a manifestation mindset. So I always talk about mindset and manifestation. And, to some friends, I'm the mindset chick. To others, I'm the manifestation queen. So they go hand in hand for me because you can't have one. Well, you can, but you'll notice some difficulties. I was going to say you can't have one without the other. When you work on your mindset, you increase the likelihood of you manifesting more of what you want versus what you don't want. So when you have a manifestation mindset, what you're doing is you're shifting from a scarcity and fear-based mindset to an abundance mindset. And so the way that I do that, and I was thinking, about, wow, okay, there are all these little pieces, but let's try and sum them up. So, I tend to put things into categories. And so I think I have about 4 or 5 steps that I teach clients. And I want people to remember that there are so many layers to each of these, but again, we're not going to cover every single detail. So when I'm teaching people to create the life that they want by shifting to a manifestation mindset, the first thing that you have to do is to clarify your goals. And I'm sure most people, you've already heard that. You're like, okay, Shakia, I've heard that before. And I'm hoping that this is the time you hear it and something clicks, right? Because it sounds so easy, right? And I'm sure you have these conversations with your clients about clarifying your goals. What is the goal? And again, especially for women with imposter syndrome, sometimes your goal isn't actually your goal. So we go back to the conversation of shoulds. Sometimes your goals are the goals you feel you should have because on paper that looks great. Well, by 30, I should have a husband, a house, a kid, and a dog, even though I don't really like dogs, but I'm afraid of them. But I should have these things. And so we want to start undoing a lot of that. And we start at the basics, the foundational pieces. What are your goals that you really want to achieve? And so when you create the goals that you want to achieve, you always have to think about, and I love doing this part with clients where I'm like, okay, well, now we have the goals. Let's go over the priority. Is this a priority for you right now? And sometimes they're like, well, I want it to be, no. Then that's telling me that's not a priority for you right now. And that's okay. Just because it's not a high priority right now, it doesn't mean that it won't become a priority for you later. But if we keep trying to force things, we're going to continue to manifest more of what we don't want. And all manifestation is just bringing into your life the things you want. So you're going to bring this into this physical reality in the here and now. And there's a lot of psychology behind it. I know some people are like, oh, it's so woo, even though I love the woo, but there's definitely psychology behind it, right? When we talk about the subconscious mind and all that jazz. But to go back to what I was saying, you want to clarify your goals. And after you clarify your goals, what you really want, what you truly desire, you want to create a priority list. Is this a priority for me now? Or is this something that I am going to hold off on? Because you create the priority list, I say all the time, well, I want to eat healthier. But right now I have so many other things going on that, let's just be honest, that's not a priority for me. So I can start integrating little things, but maybe I'm not going to do like a whole 180 right now. It's not realistic. So, okay, you focus on the things that are a priority. And once you create the goals, you create your priority list, you're also going to clarify your vision, because the goals help to inform the vision. So now that I have these goals, okay, let me start putting the pieces together. What exactly comes to mind when I think about the life I want? What does that actually look like? And I'm a big visualization person. And so for me, that's huge, but there are different ways to do that. And the first is just to start thinking and writing, journaling. What does that look like for you? And something that's important to remember is when you are creating the vision. Oh, and this is why mindset is so important, why I love talking about mindset. When you are creating the vision, you have to remember that everything is not going to go according to plan. And that is absolutely okay. So with a growth mindset, with an abundance mindset, with a manifestation mindset, you know that there are going to be some times where things don't work out the way you want them to, and that's okay. And so you are going to be resilient and you are going to persevere anyway. So you're going to not just look at the perceived failure, even though sometimes it's not a failure. Let's be real. Okay. But instead of looking at the perceived failure, you are going to look for the opportunity. So, okay, this is what's going on, but how can I use this as a growing moment? I call them growing tools, because we're going to use everything that comes our way as a tool to help us to be better. And so we're gonna look at them as opportunities. And so you're creating the vision, and then you're gonna practice habits. So I'm all about knowing what to do. And I tell clients this, especially when I used to see clients in person. I'm like, we could say a whole lot of stuff in these four walls. We can come up with the whole plan in my office. But this plan means absolutely nothing if you don't use what we talk about here in your everyday life, right? So, and again, this is being realistic. What are the habits that I can start to implement now that's going to create the life that I want? What are the things I can do now? And everybody, so many clients are like, Shakia, but I don't know. And I tell them, I say, well, give me an idea of what you think it is I'm talking about. And often it's this huge production. And I'm like, whoa, 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 back up, ma'am. Back up. It doesn't have to be a huge production. It doesn't have to be anything grand. You do what you can each day because it's going to be those small pieces, which may not be small actually, but it's going to be those everyday habits that literally lead you to achieving your goal. These are the steps you take to achieving your goal. And, you know, when we talk about manifesting, you can't forget the aligned action. You can't forget that piece. And again, the action doesn't have to be grand. The action may be communicating, hey, I would love to be on your podcast. That can be the action. The action could be going live. The action could be doing an outline for your book. The action could be doing your resume over, emailing your supervisor about a possible promotion. Like, it doesn't have to be huge. And that's relative, you know, from person to person. But I just really want to emphasize that it's the everyday habits. So what habits are you implementing into your everyday life that's leading you to achieving the goal? I'm going to stop here for a second because listen, I can talk. So it looked like you had like you wanted to say something. So I want to just back up for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have so many amazing things that you've dropped that I just want to make sure that we unpack. And so I love how you're talking about like really prioritize and not trying to accomplish, 10 areas of your life you want to improve at one time, or, 10 things you want to manifest. So really prioritizing and then getting clear on that vision and then picking those small daily habits. I just think it's so important to really make sure that everybody hears that it's not big, scary, stressful things. It's the little simple baby steps, one foot in front of the other, and just starting, not just plopping on the couch in front of Netflix. Like, do something.
Yes. And here's the thing. When we create the life that we love, and that for me, again, that's being intentional and being in alignment. So my life it absolutely includes watching Netflix, right? We're not going to take that away. So it's allowing yourself to build that in. Again, bringing more of who you are and what you want into your everyday experience, because we have been conditioned, we have been programmed to operate a certain way. Oh, you want to be successful? Well, you need to do this, this, and in this order. What? Tell me where in life that works. Tell me, right? How that works, because there's so many things that are nowhere near linear. And so yes, making certain things a priority is extremely important. And again, I keep calling out my fellow imposters, those of us who are impacted by imposter syndrome, because sometimes we tend to take on more to overcompensate for our perceived lack. So because I feel like I'm not deserving, because I feel like I'm not good at this, because I feel like I don't really deserve this, even though I have the accolades, even though I have the degree, even though I've been recognized, I've been awarded, but there's no, it's not from me. Even though I have this limiting beliefs that I am not really supposed to be here, have this, all of that. Now I'm going to do more. I'm going to do more because I'm overcompensating for my stinking thinking. And that leads to being a workaholic. It leads to burnout. It leads to resentment. But in your mind, you feel like, well, I'm doing all the things. Well, ma'am, that's the problem. Like, you got to take a step back, because you could be doing all the things. You could be doing taking steps to working on 5 different goals, but really one of them is the most important to you right now. You could be practicing these daily habits and still not have the life you want. And that's the tough part for a lot of people. And that's because let's go back to the beginning, if the goal isn't really what it is you want, you can be doing all the things and still be miserable. You can still not resonate with what's going on because it ain't for you. And that is absolutely okay. And I think that's what a lot of people, especially women, it's important for us to come to terms with that. Like, it's okay for me not to want to do what I've been planning to do for the last 10 years because I realized like this isn't it. It's okay for me to pivot. It's okay for me to try something different. It's also okay for me to have these goals, but realize like, all right, this is the one I want to work on now. This is the thing I want to do right now. Like, this is what's calling to me. It's okay to just focus on one thing. I'm the queen of thinking, oh, no, I got it. Let me just do it. No, ma'am, have a seat. Right? And that's how you got to talk to yourself sometimes from a compassionate standpoint. I love to talk about mindfulness and self-compassion that's embedded in these tips. But sometimes we got to remind ourselves like to take a step back. That's absolutely okay. And that actually leads into the next tip, which is, so we're practicing these habits that are going to lead us to achieving our goal and manifesting our real desire. And we also, in order to do that, we also need to start releasing a lot of things. We need to release something. We need to release the negative internalized messages. So again, those limiting beliefs that contribute to the stinking thinking. We need to release the negative messages that you've received throughout your life, especially in childhood, because, you know, most of us know that the messages you received during childhood, the patterns that you started to imitate, that created the foundation for what you believe to be true about yourself now. And so you're living a life that isn't really yours. You're living a life based off of what other people knew, what other people said, what you were taught, because, and most of us were, and some of us were taught from a place of other people's limiting beliefs. Well, you can't really be the CEO of your company. You can't really start your podcast or YouTube channel or your business. You can't really write these books because that's coming from somebody else's belief. They don't believe that they can do it. And so that's the level where they are. And so then they plant the seed in you. And now you walk around saying, oh, well, that's not realistic. But you know what is realistic? Linking up with people who are doing what it is you want to do, which is why coaching is so amazing, because then you can learn from somebody who's doing what it is you want to do, or who has a life similar to the one that you would like to create. You know, link up with people who have these dreams that seem so outrageous, but they are absolutely able to achieve them. So a part of this process is to release some of the negative messages that's been holding you back. That also means, you know, sometimes releasing, stepping away from some relationships as well, with people who want to keep you, for lack of a better word, like focused in on this little box, keep you in your comfort zone. It looked like you wanted to jump in for a second.
Yeah, everything. Everything. I'm like praise hand emojis all over the place. Like, but really, you know, Jim Rohn's thing of you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Things as simple as Facebook communities can be so powerful, and they're free, right? Mm-hmm. A super simple recent example in my life is I would love to be a digital nomad. I want to throw a dart at a map and just go live there on a beach for like 3 months, and then new dart, new map, new beach, right? I don't know anybody doing that. Mm-hmm. And so it seems so fantasize and like it can't happen or whatever. But a quick little Facebook search, do you know how many Facebook groups that I got in within like 30 minutes of these amazing, powerful women out there living the life that I'm dreaming of. And I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. And, already making connections and learning the lingo, learning what types of technology they need to run their online business from a beach anywhere in the world, and learning about visas and all kinds of things that I could not have been exposed to had I stayed in my little world with just the people currently in my circle.
Mhm. And by taking that action, because that was an action, see? And what was that action? That action was going on Facebook and joining communities that represented the type of lifestyle you want to have. You didn't have to go out there and put on a play or anything, right? You just use your phone, tablet, whatever, and you were able to join the community. And so taking that action. And when you saw what people have been able to do, it's like, oh, you know what? This is totally possible. I was blowing this out of proportion, but this is possible. If you are only around somebody who, if you're around a person and let's say the most they've ever made in a year was $20,000, and you say, I want to make $50,000 a year, and they say, oh, Chantal, you can't do that. Oh, no, 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 no. That's just way too much. And you're like, oh, well, yeah, you know what? You're right. Maybe that is unrealistic because I know that you only make 20,000 and my friend over here only makes 20,000 and the person I know who makes the most money, she makes about 35,000. So yeah, maybe 50,000 a year isn't realistic until you meet the person who's making 60,000 and you say, "Oh, wow." And then you network with a person who's making 100,000 and da, 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 and right. And I don't want to harp on money, but I'm using it as an example because I think it's one that most of us can relate to. You start to realize what is actually possible for you, which is amazing because it literally opens the door to you getting creative and being strategic on how you operate, on what your next move is, on what you would like to call into your life because you know it's possible. So, yeah, absolutely. And again, the steps that you take, they do not have to be anything grand. Um, Something else, another tip, one of my last tips that I have is to create positive triggers. And I love teaching about positive triggers because most people are like, I don't want to be triggered. Honey, don't trigger me now. Right. But the same way we can have negative triggers, we can have positive triggers. And so, even for my little sign over here, manifest it all, that's a positive trigger. Why? Because it's a reminder to myself that anything I want within reason, right? The laws of physics, anything I want, I'm going to go after. I can have it. And so I'm going to create that vision and I'm going to hold on to that vision and I'm going to take aligned and inspired action so that I can see the vision through. So whether it's a sign like this, whether it is posted on your desk, when I used to work, had several jobs, and whether you leave a lot of jobs or whether you are fired from jobs, that's often a sign that something not aligning. But at quite a few of my jobs that I've had, I would keep post-its on my desk of the salary I wanted to create, of the positions I wanted to hold, the titles I wanted to have, the clients I wanted to work with, where I wanted to live, because I needed those reminders to keep me in the vibration of my desires. And that's what I love to teach women, how to become a vibrational match for what it is you really want. So you have to, I don't want to say have to, but it's beneficial for you to create those positive triggers. So they could be post-its, they could be a vision board. Your journal that you read every day. I have a gratitude journal over here. And part of something that I've been doing this for years. So I was like, well, I'm going to just create my own journal. But it's, practicing my gratitude as well. Why? Because that's a positive trigger for me. Oh, I can look at all of the things that I have to be appreciative of, and not just things, but people and experiences and all of that. That's a positive trigger because when I'm not feeling my best, I can read over this. And it's a reminder of what I've accomplished. It's a reminder that I'm a cycle breaker. It's a reminder of all of the amazing things that I have done and also the life that I am creating. So positive triggers are extremely important. And I like to sum this all up, these few steps, up into three words, right? Which, when we talk about the manifestation process and we talk about creating that manifestation mindset, I want you to remember desire. So have the desire. What is it that you truly want? What is it that you are aligning with? Because whatever the vision is, whatever your goals are, these are the things that you need to align with. So have the desire. You have to have the commitment. You have to be committed to seeing the vision through. You have to be committed to achieving your goal, to manifesting your desires. And then trust. It's important for you to trust the process. Listen, we can get caught up and, oh my God, it hasn't happened yet. Okay, universe, I need you to come on. Universe, please, please, please. You have to know how to ask versus beg. And when you learn how to ask for what it is you want and work with the universe, you trust in the process that you are going to receive what it is you want. You're going to receive what it is you desire because you know it's going to happen. Why? How do we know this? Because of all the other amazing things that's happened to you in the past. Because of all of the other amazing things you were able to manifest. So I'm going to trust the process that it's going to work out for me. It may not work out for me exactly how I want it. I may get thrown some curveballs, but I'm going to be resilient. Life may happen, but I'm going to stick to it. And I'm going to trust because I am in alignment and I know that this is what I want and I'm a vibrational match. I can feel it. I get excited thinking about it, that the universe is going to come through for me, because why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't the universe come through for you? So I can talk about this all day because I love, 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 love talking about manifesting and mindset. But these are the tips that I have and things that I love to share with clients because for me, these are some of the key pieces to really manifesting. We don't have to make a big deal out of it. We don't have to put on a grand show. We can start here and really create the life that you've imagined, or sometimes even better. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I could be this good.
Yes, I think I've seen that a lot for myself and my clients and friends and family. When you do trust the process and you let go of those shoulds and you just lean in and you become aligned, the things that can, the doors that open up to you are far greater than anything that you could have imagined.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is so good. And so I know people are going to be like, oh my gosh, I want to connect with Shakia. I want to know more. And so where can people connect with you at?
So I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram at alignedandfree.co. That's my handle on Instagram. And you can also head on over to my website, alignedandfree.co. I do, and you can let me know if I'm jumping ahead, and I'll put this here because
I think I know where you're going. So, um, so you have offered the audience an amazing free 3-part audio manifestation training, or I said free, I don't know that it's free. But so an amazing 3-part audio manifestation training that we will get dropped here in the chat for everybody. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. Okay. So at this link, you can also find the more information about me, and so in connection as well. But this 3-part manifestation training, it is free, and I am super excited about it because it teaches the foundational pieces for manifesting. And included in there is also a manifestation meditation. I'm big on different types of meditations. And so that's included in the 3-part training as well. And And it's just giving you those foundational pieces so that you can get more comfortable with manifesting. So we go over what some definitions are, and we go over some of the things that you can do and you can start to incorporate into your life now. And then also you can, I believe one of the freebies as well on my site is a manifestation check. I'm all about tools, and that's free as well. And I've used, and I love to say this, and people are like, okay, girl, whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm being 100% with you. And I can share just a quick story if that's okay with you for them about the manifestation check.
Absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you. I love to use tools. I've been doing this manifesting thing for a long time, even before I had the language for it, like the words for it. And that's been a part of my journey. But anyway, I love to use tools. And so again, I was using these manifestation checks, and I said, well, I'm going to create my own check. So I did. And I used the check, and I had a date on it. And I did some of my manifestation rituals with the check, and not even realizing, because remember, when you are manifesting, remember to go on with your life. You want to work with the universe. You don't want to strangle the universe, right? So I went on with my life, and I wasn't checking about the check every day. But make a long story short, I was going over my books and my numbers, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just manifested this. So I think that's pretty cool. So if you are into manifestation, or you're new to manifestation, I think the check would be great for you, and especially that 3-part training, because you're going to get some information that's going to teach you what manifestation is. I mentioned the journal, and I can send you the link if that's okay. The journal is on Amazon, but it's a 21-day gratitude journal. And when I first started manifesting, this is one of the things I did. And it gives you bonus pages as well. So once you go past the 21 days, you can still keep the practice going. But I love it. I think it's a cool tool to have to practice manifesting. The more gratitude you send out to the universe, the more you tell the universe that you are open and ready to receive more, which I think is pretty cool. The universe says, oh, wow, Shakia, you're grateful for this? Because remember, everything is about an energetic vibration. And so if I'm saying thank you for this, and I'm reflecting on what I have to be grateful for, so I'm sending those messages to my subconscious mind. And now my subconscious mind is creating these programs within my brain that's going to allow me to have a different type of experience, usually more positive types of experience, or experiences that's going to align with what's in the subconscious. And so using these manifestation tools, using the gratitude journal, that's going to help you start to reprogram your subconscious. And look, it's literally just practicing gratitude, which is amazing. So I say all that to say, when we use these tools, it definitely help us to stay on that vibrational wavelength of what it is we want. And so you want to surround yourself with the people and the things that can help you stay in that space. That's what's been extremely important for me.
I love that. And the tools that you're sharing, number one, are free. So that's an amazing gift. Thank you so much. And then just your ability to make things so simple. And then my little neuro coaching brain loves that you do bring the woo with the neuroscience. And it's just so amazing to me how science is catching up with the woo. The woo's been there forever, right? Not forever, but
it has been.
but
Yeah. And so I think people sometimes get a little hesitant about it, because they may associate the woo with ancient rituals, right? Or they associate the woo, with something that if we can go here for a second, I would love to. They may associate the woo, depending on how they were raised, depending on what religion. And for me, I grew up Christian. So you might associate the woo with the devil, with something demonic. This is a sin. For years, I was afraid to say the word manifesting because I was taught that was sinful. Or when I burn my candle, like, you shouldn't do that. And so again, it's It's unlearning and relearning because of some of the conditioning that many of us have received throughout our childhood that stays with us. And so, depending on the type of upbringing you had, when you hear words like manifesting or intention setting, or let me move this cup, or intention setting, or even wearing crystals, we go, oh, no, 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 I can't do that. And I've had plenty of Christians say, but am I going to go to hell for manifesting? And I'm like, nah, sis. And there are people who will say different. I do not believe that, because number one, if you read your Bible, there's some things in there that definitely relate to manifesting. The words are just different. The essence of it is the same.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go on a soapbox with that, but I just want people to understand that even if you might feel uncomfortable because of the conditioning, that it's okay for you to learn from a different perspective, because maybe what you've been doing isn't working anyway.
Mm-hmm. Or what you're doing is working, but you just use a different vocabulary. But
there we go.
The same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I love it.
Might have to do a whole nother talk about that. I just got fired up.
No, it's just so amazing. And that word alignment is key. And we are so very aligned, because so much of what you talked about is right on track with things that lots of other guests have talked about, things that I talk about. So I think it's just really great for the community to hear it from multiple ways, multiple words, multiple people, so they can find what connects with them and really decipher, what aligns with them. Yeah, it's just been amazing. So I've got all your links in the chat in the Create a Life You Love community live video right now. And then I will also get them in the replay notes and the show notes. So wherever you're watching or listening from, connect with Shakia, get that manifestation training, get the gratitude journal, get the check. Like, these are things I'm going to go do. So I'm going to be on your mailing list here in a minute, Shakia.
Love to have you.
Yes, I love it. And I love to ask, and you kind of hit on some of this, as far as kind of like a broad thing some of your clients maybe do and you work with them on, but what are your daily non-negotiables?
Yeah. Okay. So one is, and I've started to bring this back. I used to do this a while ago. And this is why I love the basics, because regardless of how long you've been doing something, it never hurts to go back to the beginning sometimes. But for me, a non-negotiable is practicing visualization. So in the morning, before I do anything else, I love to visualize the outcome for whatever it is I'm working on. And sometimes, and I was just telling my boyfriend this recently, but I was like, oh man, I had such a good visualization session. I said, I forgot I was even here. Like, I was somewhere else. So that's extremely important for me. And also practicing gratitude. So before I get out of my bed, I literally have my visualization session and I give gratitude. And the first thing I always say is, oh, I'm so grateful and thankful to have a new day today, because I am. Especially the last few years, a lot of us have been confronted with, and I don't want to go make this morbid, but with death more than we have maybe in the past, especially on this mass scale. And so I am always grateful that I am here. I'm grateful that my family is here. I'm grateful that I get to call my mom and say, hey girl, I want you to have a good day. Like, I give gratitude. And also I eat breakfast. I break fast. Okay. And that is something I've realized when I am in that go, go, go mentality and I'm not fully aligned. I used to be okay with missing it. I used to be okay with skipping breakfast and saying, okay, well, no, it's not a big deal. But that is a part of my routine. And I have a few. I mean, I started working out, and there are just a few things that I love to do in the morning to get my day started. But for sure, the top three: visualization, gratitude, and eating, having breakfast.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your daily non-negotiables. It's always my hope that something you do or say will spark inspiration for somebody listening. And maybe they can pick up something that aligns with them, or it will even just spark something completely different than what you talked about. But they're like, oh, I want to do this. Um, and just really want to reiterate on the message you've shared consistently today that, you know, you have a small list of things that you do in the morning, but that doesn't mean everybody has to do that same list or that same amount or in that same order or starting at that same time. Really find what aligns with you. We so often, myself included, I'm like working myself off the cycle and then helping clients do the same. But especially in this coaching world, we get in the, oh my gosh, you have to get up at 5 a.m. and have this 2 hour routine and write 2 pages of gratitudes and like this whole big long list. And it becomes so overwhelming. And then you get paralyzed because you only did 1.5 pages instead of 2 pages. And like, it's just total craziness right now. And so thank you so much for sharing the message that it's not supposed to be that way.
No, and let me just say this. Part of my aligned life, look, I can't be any other way except for honest. I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. I'm not waking up at 5 a.m. to journal or meditate unless this was part of my schedule and this was something I wanted to do. But I don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. Now I may wake up at 6:30, but I'm not doing 5 a.m. because I'm not. And I've heard somebody say, well, get up at 4. Child, who? No. I'm not doing that. And so I say that to say, and just to echo what you said, which is find what works for you. There are some people who love to get up at 5 a.m. My boyfriend is one of them. He will get up at 4 a.m. and start his day. Sir, stop it. But that works for him. He's energized then. He's moving, he's working. For me, that doesn't work. So absolutely find what works for you. And something else I was going to add, which is a non-negotiable. And other people have worded it as romanticize your day. Something that I love to do is to find anything or not anything, but find the things that I enjoy. And it's I always ask myself, okay, so what can I do today? And for me, I am a big film and TV person. I double majored in it in college and undergrad. And so I love watching movies. Now, I'm not going to watch movies the entire day, but I'll find something that I haven't watched before that interests me. And even if I don't watch all of it, I'll watch some of it or I'll read a little. And if I can just add this in really quickly, I used to read a lot of, and actually have some of the things, some of the books on my desk over here now. I used to read so many self-help and personal development books because I love to learn. Like I'm obsessed with it. And I was like, wait a minute, I also love novels. Let me start reading more just for fun. And that has been amazing for me. And I'm sharing this because it's not anything big. It's me choosing to diversify the things that that I want to take part in, so that everything doesn't have to be serious or about work or about improvement, but you allow yourself to be present, to be in the moment and to enjoy the moment. And so for me, that might look like reading a fantasy book, or rewatching some of the Mindy Project on Hulu, right? It's these small things that I get to connect with because that allows me to reconnect with these different areas of me. Everything doesn't have to be so serious.
Right. Yes. I love that. And finding creative outlets too. So great. Speaking of creative outlets, when can we expect your book to come out?
Listen. So I am actively working on it. And this is what okay, just to go back to what we've been talking about creating a manifestation mindset. If I still lived from the perspective of my scarcity and fear-based mindset. I would not do this. I would say, oh, it's too expensive to hire a writing coach. It's too expensive to do this. I can't waste my time. Oh, what if people don't like it? Man, I had to throw those beliefs away. Why? Because this is something I want to do. So I say all that to say, I'm hoping within the next few months, I'm working on my manuscript. I'm actively working on my manuscript. I have my writing coach who goes over it with me and helps me out with some details. So yeah, definitely within 2022.
I love that. I love that. My first ever official coach, my first big investment in myself was my book coach. And it's because I wanted it so bad that it was worth it.
Yes.
And then once I saw how quicker the whole process went, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd still be talking about someday I might want to write a book. I'm like,
Yes.
but now I've got a book in my hand. Oh my goodness. Like,
Yes.
what else can coaching help me do? Like, it's crazy.
Hello.
Um,
Right.
yeah.
Yes. And this is the thing why this is why having a manifestation mindset is so cool, because you get to call in those things that you want, right? So when we want to write a book, we hire somebody who's done it before, who can
Yes.
help us. We want to start a business, we hire somebody who's done it. We want to have more confidence, we hire somebody who's done it. There is nothing wrong with that. I've had clients come to me for therapy to work on these different goals that they have, because they needed the guidance and the expertise of somebody else to help them navigate some of the strengths that they already had. I'm sorry, I get excited about this. This is the nerd in me, but like it's amazing when you step out of your comfort zone and you link up with somebody who can help you. And it's like, oh my goodness, look at this result, quicker, sooner, faster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why have you just not been doing this the entire time?
And guess what? They're not emotionally attached to the lies that you're telling yourself, the limiting beliefs. So they can see it and they can help you see it. They can call you out on it and they can help you move past them.
Yes, yes, I
Yes.
love it. They're not attached to the last one. Yes, they're not. And neither are we. We're not going to be attaching to you.
Nope. 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 Nope.
Yes.
Um, I love this. We could just sit here and talk all night. I know we could, but we'll let you go on with your evening. I know you're in a different time zone. It's even later for you where you're at than it is here. You're not in Paris yet, but I do love your background. And so are you manifesting some time in Paris?
I am. I went to Paris when I was a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't been back since. And I am, so aside from being a therapist and being a coach and future published author, I am a lover of chateaus, honey. So
Yes.
I'm obsessed with them. And I'm like, oh, I think I gotta go back to Paris. So yeah, talk about positive triggers. This is one of them.
I love it. I love it. Yes. As soon as your video camera turned on, I was like, oh, I want to know more about that. Because I know that is not just whimsically put there. That had some intention to it.
I get to see it every day. And I'm like, oh, all right, it's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Shakia. This has been absolutely amazing. And thank you everyone for joining us live or on the replay or on the podcast. Definitely go check out all the tools and resources that are linked. And if you got value out of this episode, we just ask that you share it with somebody that you think would benefit from it. And also leaving a podcast review for the Create a Life You Love podcast or the Aligned and Free podcast or both. And you can do so at ratethispodcast.com/Khalil, Calyl, for Create a Life You Love for that podcast. And then go check out Shakia's podcast and leave her a review too. Next week, it's going to look a little different. Stay tuned for what that will look like. So for right now, just save some time in your calendar and go register for the upcoming free Purpose and Impact Bootcamp. A lot of the stuff that we talked about tonight have been really heavy on my heart. And so we pivoted and said, hold up for the dates because it was supposed to start last night. And let's get some of this stuff in there because it was missing. And I really feel called to help coaches ditch the cookie cutter strategies, get out of feeling stuck, get out of the overwhelm, get out of the burnout, and really connect and network and get aligned and get back to the basics and KISS, baby. Let's keep it simple, so that we can get out there and live in our purpose and make the impact that we are designed to make. So go save your seat for that, and more details will be coming soon. But next week, we will do some type of masterclass or something like that. And so if you have something that you for sure want to learn about, shoot me a DM and it will be considered as I map that out probably tomorrow evening. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you again so much, Shakia. Always a pleasure. Everybody, enjoy the journey. Thank you for listening to the Create a Life You Love podcast. I would love to hear from you about your biggest takeaways. Share them with me on Facebook or Instagram at Create a Life You Love Coaching. If you love this podcast, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. That's it for now. Enjoy the journey.